I wanted him to make me feel chosen, but his behavior was information about our relationship. And I kept using it as proof that I wasn't enough. That's what we're talking about today on The Body Knows. Welcome back, my friends. So I've always been pretty insecure about how I look, hell, about most things about myself. So the moment I saw this tall, skinny, barely dressed girl trotting around, and my boyfriend at the time going out of his way to get her attention to tease her, okay, hello, eye roll emoji, ew, I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, oh, hell, here we go. There's the end of my relationship right there. She wasn't, by the way, but she was his coworker whom he saw quite often. Too much for my taste. And he just seemed way too excited to interact with her, in my opinion, at this party that we were both at. Every fucking giggle, little inside joke that they shared, or glance her way, it made me want to vomit, you guys. My body lit up like I was a wild tiger preparing to fight to the death over him. Dramatic, sure, but the intensity was real and undeniable. And I so badly, oh my God, I so badly wanted to call out the vibe between them. You know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm talking about. It seemed blatantly obvious to me. It felt like, does he not know that he's fucking flirting right in front of me? I mean, come on, get fucking real. But you know what? More than the desire to call out the BS that I was seeing or to claw her little eyes out, what I really needed in that moment, what I was really craving, was for him to do something or say something that would make me feel better about myself. I wanted to look into his eyes and I wanted to see reassurance. I wanted him to focus on me, whisper in my ear, and tell me how beautiful I was, that I was the only woman he had eyes for, as if he could read my mind, right? But that's not what happened. Instead, I sat there quietly stewing while they shot hoops behind me. Yes, in her tiny ass dress with nothing on underneath it. And they just carried on. And before you come for me, unfortunately, yes, I did know that there was nothing underneath her dress. I had the wonderful chance to see the nakedness. Okay. So when I said barely dressed, I meant it. Meanwhile, I went over this dreaded comparison chart that was plastered inside my brain, showing me every way she was better than me. And needless to say, I desperately wanted to crawl out of my skin. I desperately did not want to care that he was paying her way too much attention. I desperately wanted to have the guts to leave that party without him, go home and enjoy my own company. But that version of me couldn't do that. I needed him. And if I left, what if they got together? What if that proved my fear was true? That I wasn't good enough and that she was better than me, and the whole time he wanted me out of the way. Somehow, that possibility felt more dangerous to me than staying beside a guy who clearly had a wandering eye. This Hannah today, though, I'll tell you what, she don't tolerate that bullshit. But this version of me, I needed his validation before I could feel okay. And I was going to get it one way or another, even if it meant arguing with him about the situation until we turned on each other. That's so fucking draining, is it not? But here, let's talk about the loop I couldn't see. And maybe you can't see it either. Maybe a half-naked girl isn't parading around your person and giggling at their stupid inside jokes. But maybe all it takes is one look in the direction of someone that you believe is prettier than you or thinner than you, whatever, more confident than you, more his type than you, and suddenly your stomach drops. Your brain starts running through every way that she's better, her body, her confidence, the way she carries herself, the way he looks at her compared to the way he looks at you. And the next thing you know, you've decided you are the most unwanted, ugly thing in the room. That was the loop I couldn't see. Okay. When his attention went to her, I immediately felt like I'm not enough. And I thought the only way to feel like enough again was to get his attention back on me. And maybe that works for a little bit, right? Maybe he reassures you. Maybe he says he doesn't want her. It's not like that. Maybe he tells you you're beautiful and you're the only person he loves. And maybe for a moment you feel better. But that relief never lasts. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you're still waiting for the next woman to come along and threaten your place. And you're thinking to yourself, when is he going to figure... Sorry if y'all heard that. I am so sorry. My computer is super loud. So you're thinking to yourself, when is he going to figure out that he doesn't actually want me? Right? When is he going to realize how unlovable I am? It's fucking exhausting. And that loop, that silly little loop, it can keep you loyal to someone who truly may not be right for you. Because being treated poorly feels less dangerous than being left. So you pretend not to care, right? You try to be the cool, unbothered girlfriend. You swallow what you're feeling because you don't want to seem insecure, jealous, or difficult or any of that shit until you cannot hold it in anymore. And that's when you start to question him and check his phone and accuse him of things that may or may not be happening, right? Do anything you can think of to make that fear go away and to feel like you're chosen again, to feel loved again. And afterward, you're pissed at yourself for becoming the exact version of you that you believe is impossible to love. My friend, I stayed stuck there for so long because I genuinely believed that being chosen by someone else was the only thing that could make me feel okay. And you know what? That's a programming that goes way the fuck back. But here's the thing I could not see. I wasn't only afraid that he would choose her. I was afraid that if he chose her, it would prove that she was better than me. And because I was using his behavior to decide my worth, I needed his behavior to restore it. And that can leave you feeling completely and utterly fucking powerless. But here's what his behavior could and couldn't tell me. And same for you. His behavior that day at that party, it was hurtful, right? He was being flirtatious and inconsiderate, let's be honest. And he probably was completely wrong for me. But his behavior was information about him as a person and our relationship, us as a unit, right? Our compatibility. It could show me that I didn't like how I was being treated, which is valuable feedback. You don't usually know this stuff until you experience something you don't want. Contrast is really important. It could show me that something felt disrespectful. This is creating healthy discernment, okay? It could help me decide whether this was a relationship I actually wanted to be in. But here's what it couldn't tell me. It could not tell me that she was a better person than me. It could not tell me that I fundamentally am not enough. And it could not tell me that I was unlovable. That was just the story I added onto the moment. I wasn't only feeling the pain or the discomfort of watching my boyfriend light up around another woman. I was in pain because I was using his behavior to confirm, to validate every horrible thing I already believed about myself. It was like, oh, yep, that tracks. And then I needed him to disprove the story that I was repeating inside my own head. But he couldn't do that. Not really. No amount of reassurance can make me feel lovable while I was still treating myself like I wasn't. The truth was, I wanted him to give me something I was actively withholding from myself. I wanted him to look at me and see beauty while I sat there thinking of myself as an ugly little lump. I wanted him to choose me while in my own mind I had already chosen her over me. I wanted him to convince me that I was enough after I had already decided I wasn't. He could reassure me all he wanted, but his words had to compete with the case I was building against myself every damn day. And for a long time, I really thought I only had two options, right? Get him to make me feel okay, like get this person outside of me to make me feel okay by changing their behavior or telling me something I want to hear, or force myself not to care, which was fucking impossible. But there was a third option that I couldn't see, and maybe you haven't seen this either. I could admit that his behavior hurt. I could maybe trust what I was noticing. And I could maybe refuse to make any of it mean something terrible about me. And that's what it means to validate yourself. It doesn't mean pretending you're not hurting when you are, okay? It doesn't mean convincing yourself that you're better than any other woman in the room. That's really not helpful either. And it definitely doesn't mean ignoring a vibe you're genuinely feeling. And it certainly doesn't mean becoming less sensitive or pretending that you don't care. It means being able to say to yourself, within yourself, yes, this hurts. Yes, I'm noticing something that doesn't feel right. I don't have to figure out exactly what this means while I'm panicking. And no matter what he does next, I'm not going to use it as a reason to turn against myself. Because why? Because you can feel the hurt and stay true to yourself. And when you're no longer fighting yourself, right, to prove that you're worthy, you can finally look at the actual relationship in front of you and you can ask the hard questions, but the honest questions. Do I like how I'm being treated? Can I express that something hurt me and be met with care? Is this relationship actually right for me? Am I staying because I want to be here or because losing him would seem to confirm the worst thing I believe about myself? That's what it means to come back to yourself. Not becoming the cool, unbothered woman who never feels jealous, fuck that. But learning how to feel scared and hurt and threatened, jealous, whatever's there, and still stay on your own side. And think about it. That's exactly what you're wanting him to do. Now, if maybe you're reading this thinking, I understand all of this, but the second something happens, my body takes over. 100%. Me too, right? I used to be the same way. That's exactly why understanding the pattern isn't always enough to change it. These beliefs, they don't just live in your head and your thoughts. They show up in that drop of your stomach, in the tightness in your chest, the urge to compare, question, cling, start an argument until something he says finally makes you feel better about yourself, which rarely happens if we're being honest. That's why you can understand exactly what's happening and still feel unable to stop it in the moment, right? Well, that all changes right now because that is exactly the point where tapping changes the game. And when I say tapping, I mean the emotional freedom technique. It's just called tapping because that's what you're doing. Because it's a practice where you gently tap on the points on your face, specific points, and your body while talking through what you're feeling. And don't underestimate its simplicity. I did for a long time and it held me back. It wasn't until I actually gave it a real go and took it seriously and made a commitment to it that I saw the biggest changes within myself. Because it helps you slow down and stay with yourself instead of getting completely swept away by the fear. So when his energy shifts or you see something that you don't like a half naked chica running around, or your mind starts telling you that you're about to lose him for whatever reason, you have a way to reach yourself in that moment. Because I don't want you only to understand the spiral once it's over. Okay. I want you to know how to be there for yourself while it's happening. And I think that's what you want too. Before you check his phone, right? Before you send the text, before you start the argument or spend hours making yourself feel worse. Because let's be honest, if we feel like we have to do that, there might be something that we need to really take a look at in that dynamic, in that relationship, right? Something within ourselves. But I also understand how heavy and lonely that work can be with yourself. That's why I created a container for it. I call it the 30-day inner reclaim. It's a private, intimate EFT journey for those women who've always felt like their sensitivity was a fucking curse and who are tired of knowing better, but still losing themselves when the fear hits. And in that program over 30 days, we use tapping to work through the fear hiding underneath your reactions. Because it's not all about what's happening on the surface that's upsetting you. There are deeper emotional anchors that are pulling you out of yourself, pulling you into that behavior that makes you feel regretful. So over that 30 days, we address that fear hiding underneath it. We rebuild trust in yourself, an unshakable fucking trust. I say it with conviction because I live it. And we help you respond from clarity, genuine clarity, instead of letting anxiety decide what happens next. And I'm right there beside you this whole 30 days as you practice staying loyal to yourself. Keyword practice there. No matter what anyone else is thinking, feeling, or doing around you. And it is a practice because without realizing it, you've practiced your way into self-criticism, into self-abandonment. So it takes practice to learn how to become your own safe space. Because the goal here is not to guarantee that no one will ever, like no relationship will ever end, or that no one will ever upset you again. Like we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. It's a part of how we learn and grow. It's about becoming the woman who knows that even when the fear hits, she will not leave herself. It's about becoming the woman who can separate her fear from her truth. And that's a life skill that will take you so far in every area of your life. And you don't need to wait for the next, bombshell of a woman to walk by your man, or the next unanswered text or sudden shift in his energy to throw you back into the same painful spiral before you start changing. You can start changing that pattern right now. So the next time fear tells you that you're about to lose him, you know how to not lose yourself, because that, my friend, causes more suffering than his behavior ever could. So if you're ready to stop losing yourself in your relationships, I have a link here at the end of the episode where you can learn more about the 30-day inner reclaim journey and see if it feels right for you. And if it does, we can have a conversation about it. I'm here to help. I love you, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss this.